welcome back to another episode of the Counterculture Podcast. I'm your host, Christian, along with my great friend and co-host, Taylor. We'll see if this goes well.
Yeah,
we've had week after week
growing pains,
of issues.
No, I think we should be good.
We will be good this week. I'm just saying, like the last several weeks, it's been one
Mother
thing after
Nature.
another.
Mother Nature messed with us. Yeah, sorry. That video I tried. The power went out. I thought it was just going to be like a black screen and we could keep talking, but the video just ended up choppy.
I was really disappointed because I thought it was going to be like a really, really funny episode just because of all of the stuff. Now, if you go on Spotify or Apple Podcasts where you can listen to it, and again, I think it's pretty funny, right? Just because of all of the things that happen. But growing pains. We actually were, before we started recording, we talked about some other changes we're looking to make to try to make our lives easier. Probably go back to doing more live streams, finding an easier way to have guests. Been in communication with one of the top YouTubers around, getting their advice.
And he wasn't looking in a mirror, so.
No, I was not. No, I was talking to our friend Rebecca. Shout out. Appreciate the advice. So I think we're gonna figure out some things to make our life a little easier.
Yeah.
So
more streaming, multiple platforms, same time.
Yeah.
Getting guests back on.
Yes.
So I know y'all want some more of that kind of content.
Yeah.
It's just been me and him for a couple months now. So we need to get some fresh.
Yeah,
some
you're
fresh
probably
blood.
very sick and tired of listening to just us.
I know I am.
Me too. Montucky cold snack.
They just showed their colors too, but it's fine. It's still a good snack. Because I went to a concert last night and I saw that they had Montucky, and I was excited because I've been telling everybody and anybody about this brand, and I'm like, dude, it's so good. The official, unofficial beer of Montana. You know, you can find it at my local HEB. You can get a 30-pack for like $24, $22. I'm like, yes, and it's good. I've tried like going to like Lone Star, Coors Banquet. Nothing's quite scratching that itch the way this can for the price. So when I went to the concert last night and saw that they had Montucky, I was like, sweet, $5 for a 16 ounce. I'm like, yeah.
Sold.
And then the can came out and it was a lighter blue. They had switched the horse to a prancing horse.
The horse was gay, folks. The horse was gay.
It was a unicorn with wings and it was riding a rainbow. So, I mean, if you're into that, then cool. I was just a little surprised.
Yeah. There aren't very many gay people in Montana.
There's not a lot of people there in general.
That's true. There's more people in the city of Houston than there are in the entire state of Montana.
Yeah. We know. We've looked into it.
Yeah. I was actually talking to a guy recently. He lives in Bozeman. Okay. Because of the recent popularity of the state of Montana, you know, from like Yellowstone, stuff like that, He's saying houses are going for like upwards of like 300 to 400 plus thousand. I'm like, that is insane. I'm like, are you serious? He's
but
like,
the houses,
yeah.
There's not a lot of houses there.
No,
the ones that are there,
too.
I mean, they're like
big.
The ones that are there, you pay through the nose for. But there's a lot of like double wides that are put on like 50 acres of in the plains.
Nothing. Yeah.
You know, you're not nothing. It's not all this log cabins up in tucked in the trees. Most of it's a lot of the cheaper, affordable stuff. It's flat. It's like somebody's like a rancher and they've got a double wide park that's fenced in on 50, 60 acres.
How awesome would that be?
The double wide or the 50, 60 acres?
The 50, 60 acres.
It's a start. I mean, you could eventually build on it.
Yeah, it's a place to start. I should have, when I saw that house, that was a 5-bedroom, 4-bath house for $215 in the middle of nowhere. $215,000.
I wasn't going to correct you.
It was $200. No, it was 200. Like it was 210 or 215. Should have taken it. Should have just left.
Yeah,
especially now.
Forget work. How we're gonna do that? Oh, never mind.
Yeah,
screw you.
Exactly.
although I'm in construction management, so I could pretty much.
You could go anywhere.
That's what I tell the wife. I can go anywhere I want.
They need me. I'm a. What was the word they used during the during COVID or whatever. Essential. I'm an essential worker.
I was essential.
Can you believe that was a real thing, right? Calling certain people essential and others unessential. Is that not insane?
I need a little sound pad for moments like this. And we're like, burr, burr, burr,
yes, we do. I'm telling you, we got to. What is it called again?
The Elgato, the little stream deck.
Yeah, you need to get
but
those.
The mini. I saw one on Facebook Marketplace the other day. They wanted $80 for it.
Should have gotten it.
I think brand new. They're like $120, $150
I have no
or something.
idea.
But
yeah, probably.
Still,
we need to get those. That's another thing we need to get is soundboard.
I'd do it.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
Like there's just all kinds of like funny little sound bites.
You can do custom ones, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we should definitely do that because we could definitely come.
I think I'm just going to pre-record my own impersonations of those clips for copyright reasons, and so it's just going to be me and my impersonations.
Well, copyright stuff is only things past 10 seconds, so if it's like a 2-second soundbite, you shouldn't have any issues.
Yeah, I was just mainly being funny. I just want to record myself.
Fair enough. I mean, I'm okay with that.
But a little Trump here, a little Biden there, a little. It just makes common sense.
How dare you? I would like a lot of Dr. Fauci.
Just remembering where each one is though would be.
You'll get it. You're a pro. At every step of the process of doing this, you've just figured it out.
This stuff is a nightmare. Nobody tells you about it. Just don't start. And then you don't have to worry about it.
Just don't do anything.
Anybody can make it to the top. Except nobody will.
Just not you.
Yeah.
Anybody can make it to the top. It's just probably not you.
Like some people go to school for this stuff and they still put a bullet in the brains. It's just, I don't know.
Oof.
I guess I'm just keep it together. I don't know how. Yeah, I mean, you were like just letting me do my thing trying to figure this out.
Listen, I don't pretend. Here's what I know is that
video encoders, like what?
On techie stuff, I have a very shallow knowledge of how to do a lot of basic stuff. You start getting into the weeds of it, you lose me. You lose me like a rice field in Vietnam. I have no idea where I am.
Like
I have
the
no
old
idea what's
guy who
happening.
doesn't know how to like do FaceTime. It's like, Grandpa, you're too close to the phone.
Yeah,
you know?
it's
like,
not. I'm looking at your forehead. Oops,
what?
Sorry.
No, but like video encoders, things like that, and then you get to switch between multiple ones, and I don't know. It was weird. We were having like playback issues where like we would start recording and it was like the video couldn't keep up. So I had to switch between some stuff. Anyways, we're here. We're good.
Yeah,
Enough about us.
Yeah, so that's going on. So if you like this video, go ahead and hit subscribe.
Yeah, please. It means a lot because it takes a lot.
Yes, that's true. So yeah, make sure you go down, hit the notification bell, share the show with your friends, right? We're so close to 100 subscribers, only need 6 more, right?
It's been 6 more for a while though, but we need it.
Well, we haven't been uploading videos. So we just come on, we're almost there, right? Almost to 100.
Yeah.
Right? And then it's next step will be 100,000.
Hey,
it'll take a while.
Snowball
right? You got to dream big, okay? So, and of course, also you can find us on Apple, Spotify, right? Leave 5-star review there, all that kind of good stuff. So, actually, okay, I had to talk to you about this. I saw this, and if you're for anyone that is like an adult, like an adult like that owns a house or you're married, whatever, you'll appreciate this. I saw this commercial, okay, the Home Depot commercial, for the all-in-one washer and dryer.
Okay, there is a practical, like, there's a time and a place for that. There's a product that even I'm building right now through work, where they're starting to do like stackables because that's it's like a townhome, kind of more like a.
But stackables are becoming popular even like in non-townhomes.
Yeah, but the problem with stackables is nobody likes them. They tend to vibrate. There's more weight. They're the up to the down, and then the connections get funny because it's how it's got to be built, because if not, there's not enough room. So you usually have connections top and bottom because you have to run dryers. And anyways, so this new all-in-one could be pretty good. I saw a TikTok the other day about an appliance from the 1960s. It was a range that was also a fridge. So you could imagine that it worked, but nobody bought it. Wasn't really, but it worked. Like not just a theory, like I saw it. You put it in and it would keep it like 40 degrees until like you had a set timer when you're ready to go, and it would turn itself on to 350 and like start baking your pot roast or whatever.
The future is now, folks, or it was then.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean that was a weird time to be alive because everything was like so the land of tomorrow, like, you know what I mean? Like with the World Fair, and they'd have like all that kind of stuff.
I wish we still did stuff like that. You would think we would, especially with a guy like Elon Musk, as popular as he is. Like we would have some sort of like you said, like World Fair or like
the problem with
like
that,
like what was it like in Marvel, like the Stark Expo? Like you had all the geniuses of the world like showcasing all these like.
When's the last time you went to a big fair, or like the big Dallas fair? They used to be big. I remember my grandfather parents took us when I was a kid, and that was cool. You had the big Texan, you know, the big Ferris wheel. But aside from like the rodeo coming in, and they have the little like fairgrounds there, we can do like. Mm-hmm. We don't do big fairs anymore. Maybe it's bigger, you know, in BFE. But the World Fair, like the Chicago World's Fair, like all this, where they would build like for a year in advance, like these giant facades. And like almost like plaster like buildings just to like make it look so dystopian, like in the future and all this. And then they'd have to tear it down because it wasn't safe because it would start to like fall into just to repair. But the thing is, imagine. So you're saying, you know, like
the
Elon,
funny thing is like that's just like the rest of the city of Chicago, just falling into disarray.
Yeah, it's true. It's neither here nor there. So you made a good point. Like, okay, why wouldn't Elon do this? Like, why wouldn't they do? Or like show off this new tech or what we could do or the technologies that they kind of do, but they're in like trade shows and things like that. Nobody is going to drive all the way to do this like World's Fair. Everything's up at your phone. You're watching tech reviews with like TED Talks or
I guess that's part of it. Yeah.
Forget that kid's name on YouTube. He's really big. Black kid. He's huge now, but all he does is like unboxing and he does reviews on like new tech.
Okay.
Yeah. He was on Casey Neistat a few times, but he's big on his own right. But anyways, yeah, people just, I wonder what this gaming headset's like, or I wonder what they're doing at SpaceX, and then you just YouTube that.
Or you live stream it or whatever.
Yeah.
I guess that is part of it, and it's really interesting too because that just goes to the point I think people have been making for a long time is that even as we've become more and more connected, right, through like the internet and our phones, it's like we've become so much more disconnected from.
There's less reason to leave your house now. I mean, you're more likely to throw on a VR headset now, or I mean, perfect example is Apple just announced that they're coming out with their Apple Vision.
I saw that thing is crazy.
They want $3,500 for that, by the way.
People will buy it.
I'm saving. I'm just kidding.
People will buy it.
But they will. Like, there's not going to be a reason to really. I don't know. The future's cool. Future's scary, but as a species, there's less reason to go out and interact now. I mean, pandemic was a perfect example. I mean, we're Uber Eats, Amazon Prime. I mean, you even got the if you take Uber Eats out, there's all the different options you knew have like Blue Apron.
HelloFresh.
For all these like, even if you don't want to like Uber Eats, like McDonald's or whatever, you can still get fresh ingredients and cook yourself. Like everything is at this like instant demand. I don't know, like.
Yeah, it's really funny too because with those things, the more people become more disconnected with the reality of how those things come about. I was listening to it's been a while, but like Tim on his show, he's brought it up before. Like he was talking to a leftist, is like, well, like, how does like the grocery, how do grocery, the food, like how does it get to the grocery store? And the guy's answer is like, it's just there. He's like, and that was his honest answer. He's like, yeah, where does it come from? He's like, it's just
what
there.
What do you mean?
Yeah, the guy looked at him like, what do you mean? And Tim's like, what do you mean? What do you mean?
That's
like,
the problem with a lot of those.
Disconnection of like the practical nature of how things come about, right? Whether it's the electricity or your utilities, and then to your food, like how things happen. It's like, do you understand how practical or like things like this, like when it comes to plastic, right? Most people don't realize when a major component of creating plastic is petroleum.
Yeah.
Right. So when that becomes more expensive, right? Like it's hard. Like again, like
and people are like, but you can make it from corn. Oh, you can make some plastics from corn, and it's expensive to do, but there's still some petroleum-based products, typically even in those products.
Mm-hmm. Because it had to have some way to make it, simpler, streamlined, whatever it is.
Yeah, but I mean, you make a good point. These people just have their heads in their sand. I mean, they were talking about, well, if everything was solar, then we wouldn't have that problem. Dude, a hailstorm just went through like Oklahoma. Did you see that solar field? It was
no, but it's probably
just like 4 acres of nothing solar panels. They're all damaged. They're all broken.
Oh yeah.
It's like, can you imagine if the entire grid, or like there was whole societies that, or like cities that were just like green energy, and something like that fails?
Yeah, you're screwed.
You don't have the dependency or the backup of something like firing up generators or a coal plant or something like that.
Yeah, and that's the thing about, again, I think there is a future where green energies or green resources are going to be usable and sustainable, but we're not there. Like, the technology just isn't quite there yet.
Well, you can implement like good practices. You can do things as an individual to lessen your carbon footprint. Like, there's things you can do like that, but we don't need this whole like great flood kind of like reset right now in the energy corridor just to make people feel good.
What's
more
funny,
people, like the cargo ships that are going around the world, like sharing supplies, and then all like the private jets and that's more like carbon emissions, and that's more like pollution there than anything else. But the problem is nobody's talking about it. Why? Because, like, what are you going to do against China and all their shipping? Are you really going to, like, say, oh, don't buy anything because it comes over on a boat and it uses 10,000 gallons of fuel and all this kind of stuff to make one trip, and then it turns right back around, and they never stop sailing? There's probably, like, how many ships out there right now just constantly going around for the logistics of the world, so you have groceries in your store? But nobody wants to talk about that. No, they want you to stop driving your 6-year-old F-150 because you need, because Congress just passed that by 2030, you need to have an EV vehicle only. Like, no, that's not going to make the difference.
Those are just some of the stupidest things. And it just shows you just how unrealistic, and again, just how disconnected from reality all this. Because it's like when to your point, and what's ironic is these people that are talking about, like, whether it's green energy, getting rid of fossil fuels, all that kind of stuff, they usually live in urban centers, right? Which are more detrimental to the environment than someone who lives in the suburbs, and certainly someone that lives in any sort of rural area. Like, what's funny is the most environmentally conscious people are actually the ones that live off the land in very
perfect example is Yellowstone.
Way.
When the hippie chick came up and was trying to, like, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And she's like trying to protest, and she's chaining herself to fences, that type of person, saying that all you ranchers and this, that, you're doing more pollution. And no spoilers if you haven't seen the show. I think it was a couple seasons ago, but like, he gets her out, and then he's like, I want you to follow me and see what I do. And it kind of changed her perspective, but
he also wanted to bone her. That's part of it, too.
He did bone her. He didn't just want to.
He did. More than once.
He did. But yeah, I mean, point is, like, you can't just talk all this stuff. You got to figure out how things work. The problem is, if the energy, like, system, the grid shut down tomorrow. I was telling my wife yesterday while leaving the grocery store, because the car was so hot, because we're in like triple digits, like in June. It's been a hot year.
So hot outside.
Like, dude, like, why buy the leather seats in the car when you're just going to slip and slide on them? You should have got the cloth seats, To
be honest, the cloth seats are right now. They seem like a good decision. I'm more of a leather seat guy.
Yeah.
Cloth is really coming in.
Well, I'll tell you what,
now.
Having the ventilated seats does help, though, but it takes a few minutes for that to kick in.
Yeah, it's still hot. Still hot when I get in.
But no, I was telling my wife, I was like, I said, I don't know how they did it. Like, you think like 1883, like
they just died.
Texas back then.
I imagine they just were dead.
I said, if something happened to our infrastructure right now, and we were driving through neighborhoods, and I was like, the thousands of homes just in our like area, if everything went out and nobody could have climate control, like, people would lose their minds.
We would instantly.
It'd be riots.
Yeah, I mean, instantly chaos. I mean, pure chaos. You would see the primal animal side of people come out immediately. Can I just say something crazy right now?
Yeah.
Okay. It is 8:30, right? At the moment right now, it is still 90 degrees outside at 8:30 at night.
Yeah.
That's just bonkers.
I've been going to my mother-in-law's pool like pretty much every weekend. We've been taking the kids because it's so hot this week.
What else do you do besides go to the pool?
The water, the entire pool feels like bath water because it's just been so hot for so long that, I mean, typically the pool, even in the summer, even here, if it's not constant 3 digits, I mean, it'll feel like 75 degrees or something like that.
That's cool. Yeah.
Dude, it's reading like 85, 87. Like, it's hot.
Yeah. It's like, this is not as enjoyable as
it's not a little pool.
But
it's
to be fair,
in-ground pool.
Even in Yellowstone right now, it's 84 degrees right now.
Yeah.
Which is surprising. But later this week, the lows are in the 60s into the 40s. Why do we live here?
Well, the winters are tough. But I like the cold.
That is true. There are 6 months of hell living there. That is true.
Yeah, but you know what they say? You can only get so naked.
You can always add another layer of clothes on.
I got a new smoker today, so naturally
a Traeger,
another Traeger. I upgraded. It's not new, so I'm not that bougie. I bought it off Marketplace. I wait. I'm like a shark.
You got a hell of a deal.
It's less than a year old. Looks brand new, and it's a 780. So they retail for like, Amazon's getting like around a K right now. I think Academy had them for like 900, but
yeah,
Amazon's
about 1,000,
like,
basically about $1,000.
1,000, 1,100. I got it for $500. Yeah. So
sold.
Naturally, I was like, I'm gonna go do burgers on it. I got all hooked up, and it's the Wi-Fi one, so I'm all setting it up. I'm letting it fire up for the first time, getting it smoked, kind of cleaning it off from the previous owner, and I'm like, I'm gonna do burgers on it. You know, it's a grill. Simple. Just put it up to that high heat and just do burgers on it. Man, I was out there. I was coming back in and out, so I wasn't just outside. So naturally, the house is warming up because I'm opening and closing the door constantly. But yeah, I tried my best to stay out there for 10 minutes at a time. I think I lost 5 years of my life, just like through like heat exertion or something. It was rough. Like you came over, like I had to go shower before we even started this because it was rough.
It was sweaty. But you know,
and I was naked outside too. I was flipping burgers, just sweating all places. Thank God for 6-foot fences, you know.
Dude, man. Well, you know, we make sacrifices for family, don't we?
Yeah. There's sacrifice.
All right. The things we do for our kids.
Speaking of kids.
Oh, nice segue.
You like that?
So, yeah. So as per usual, you may be shocked by this, right? We want to talk about... this story was brought to my attention by my wife. Now, I had seen it a couple of times. Oh, wait, actually, before we actually go into this, we're about to go into 4th of July weekend, right? The best, the only day that rivals 4th of July is Christmas.
Yeah, and I should have this up right around that time too. Ideally,
we'll see what happens. What is your go-to patriotic movie?
Ooh, I mean, it's in the name, people. The Patriot. I would say that's, I mean, when you want to get back down to the roots, what's been annoying me lately is thinking about how everything is taxed and we just like don't care. We just accept it. Inflation here. Oh, we miscounted 6.2 billion during our congressional audit or whatever that we sent to Ukraine or didn't. And now I'm not going down that rabbit hole, but still. And nobody really cares. It's out there in the news. We were tarring and feathering people because they wanted to raise they wanted to tax tea.
Are you suggesting we tar and feather?
All I'm saying is people need to start like, we've given up so much ground and just taking it for what it is, saying, we like these socialist programs such as like Social Security, medical, what is it? Medicare?
Yeah, Medicare, Medicaid, yeah.
Like that you're like, okay, I'll give up a little bit. Up until the 70s, whatever, we didn't even have an income tax. Is that what it was? 70s?
No, it was 1918 is when the Federal Reserve was created.
Yeah, but we didn't have
the federal income tax was created in 29, actually.
No, what was in the 60s or 70s then?
That's when we came off the gold standard. 1972 is when Nixon got us off of the gold standard and set us into a tailspin of fiat currency that we are now
Fiat currency, man, that brings me back to history class.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was 1970. I believe it was 72. It was 72 or 71, where Nixon got us off the gold standard, and which is one of the out of
because they want to just be able to print money,
and they do.
We still do.
Oh yeah, right. Which is amazing to me, and this is why I'm a huge component on people saving money, all that kind of stuff. But what's really actually funny is that because of inflation and the fact that, again, money can just be printed out of nowhere, and all of a sudden, not even printed, right? It's just digits on a computer, and it's just
zeros
there.
And ones.
It just poof, it's there. If they want to create $1 billion, poof, there's $1 billion in the world, right? That's like literally how it works, basically.
It's like we're all playing pretend.
Yes, it's basically monopoly money, and the only reason why the monopoly money that is the U.S. dollar is worth anything is because we are the largest country with the largest military, and oil is the biggest commodity in the world. And guess who basically runs the shop there? The United States.
BlackRock and Vanguard. Oh, I mean,
yeah, U.S., BlackRock, whatever, same thing at this point.
But no, like that's a fair point. Like you ever driving down the road? I know I all do, but and you're just on like a little 2-lane road, and the only thing separating you and colliding with the other car going 60 the other way is a little paint on the road, and you realize that everybody's just playing their part. There's nothing really physical keeping everybody from that chaos. It's just that little bit of paint, that little bit of like, if I do what I'm supposed to do and they do what they're supposed to do, everything should be okay. And then you just blindly right past each other, every single car, until maybe somebody messes up. But like, all it takes is like, everybody has to play the game. Same with the money. Like, just because everybody keeps doing it and going through the motions, that's why it still works. Because it's not backed in anything.
Yeah. And that's where it's like almost like you're better off the money you earn like spending it. And when I mean spending, I mean like buying assets with it that can increase in value over time, right? Which is challenging, it's difficult, whatever. But that's almost the best. Like the longer your money sits like just there in your bank account, whatever, or even your bank savings account, the more it's just losing value every minute, every second.
Well, especially with inflation and everything else.
Yes.
Like it's just, and then like a checking and especially a savings account, it's a joke. Mm-hmm. Like you're not making money. Like you need to be doing something else with your money.
Yeah, you need to go,
and put it in something tangible. Like real estate, investments, different things like that. You can't just let it sit there. And which sucks because that's why a lot of wealthy people don't have a lot of money to pull with at a single time. So their total net worth may be a lot, or their total in assets, but cash on hand is different.
Right. I mean, and that's the thing. And that's where, again, like any time that people have talked about taxing the rich or the billionaire, it's like, you're an idiot. Like they don't have, like people think that like they're so dumb. They think like that, Elon Musk has like a Scrooge McDuck size vault that he just jumps into every morning. Like that's not how it works.
Right. These people pay taxes. Now, granted, if they donate X amount of millions to charity or do this or that, will they get deductions or pay less? So they're not going to be in the same like bracket necessarily as you. So if you can't just multiply your salary by X and that's what you're paying, and they do the same thing but on a larger scale because they make more, it's different. It's like when they were going after Trump, and he's like, "I've paid millions in taxes this year."
But even if he doesn't, right? If like again, like when he utilizes real estate to have a loss, it's like that's how it works, right? That's how the tax code works.
Change the laws if you don't like it. But
I mean, he again, like it was funny, but like he was telling, like that's what he said. Like if you don't like it, like change the laws. But it's like you're not going to because you use this too. Mm-hmm. Like you do it. Yep. You're not going to change it. Why would you change it? That would be stupid, And it's like, and here's the thing, right? Like when it comes to that, I mean, the idea of I mean, the levels of income tax are so stupid. I mean,
I paid more in taxes this year than I ever have this past tax season.
Well, it's just ridiculous. I mean, the idea, I don't know. I understand some practical levels of taxation, right? I get it on a certain level. Like but the amount that people get taxed is just ridiculous. For me, I think now you'd have to look at this practically. Again, I'm no expert, whatever, but like I've heard for like I guess arguments from the libertarian side, like a 10% flat tax, like across the board, no matter what, depending upon, like, I think if you crush the like the poverty, if you're under the poverty line or whatever, income wise, then you pay just zero taxes, which I think makes sense to me because you're not making that much money anyway.
Yeah.
But it's just a 10% flat, just across the board, no matter how much you make, right? Number one, if they did that, they'd probably end up getting more taxes because, again, if you just said everyone's going to pay 10% flat, no matter what, just boom across the board, right? No matter what your income level is, and there's no deductions, there's no nothing, right? It's just 10% all the way across. You'd probably end up getting more tax dollars out of, especially if you want to look at the horrible wealthy people. You'd probably get more taxes out of them, right? Because if you're just doing a flat 10% out of these large income amounts or whatever.
But sure, let's just say even we rallied everybody together, we voted it in, then that happened. Where is it going? Where's it being used?
Well,
for?
that's certainly the bigger problem, right? And of course, that's the other thing as well, is that at the end of the day, right, the entity that it's going to, right, the federal government is just this bloated blob of a useless organism for 90% of it.
We need term limits. Like, these people, they're the same people that have been there forever. And they're carpetbaggers, and they've got this giant freaking sack of money now. They go, I mean, hey, I've been thinking about going into office just to change my life around, just I could use a couple houses.
Yeah, I should be a congressperson. I mean, you want the easiest way to get money in this country, just become a congressperson.
All the insider trading, like, they need to ban that. Like, just where you're not allowed to, like, if you have that privileged information, then you're not allowed to make.
I know that's the funniest thing for the legalized insider trading that happens in the halls of Congress is like insane. Because again, anyone outside of that, when you're privy to information before it happens and you do that, like, you go to jail. You get arrested for that.
Yeah, but nobody cares. It goes back to what I was saying earlier. It's like, no one cares. With where the money's going, or you find out, or proof comes up that, like, how much money Hunter Biden's made from doing literally nothing.
Oh my God. Have you seen all this stuff about that?
I've been a little bit, but I haven't really been paying attention. But again, nobody cares. All this stuff's coming to light, and for what?
Well, it's really ironic, of course, because while that was happening, right, you had the whole like Titan sub thing going on at the same time.
Ocean Gate.
Right? Ocean Gate, is that what people are calling it?
That's what the name of the company's called.
Is it really? Oh, okay. That's actually kind of ironic.
It's funny because
Watergate or whatever. Yeah. What's interesting is the most egregious thing, and I know
there it is, people.
It's been a while since I pulled that out, but it is the like they were using all these resources to try to find the sub, hoping that they would find these people that are down there, right? They were talking about the amount of hours left of oxygen, all this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, but apparently the Coast Guard knew for days.
The Navy knew that, they got crushed by the pressure of the ocean.
Yeah, right? They heard it or something.
Yeah, they felt they saw the implosion, or not saw, but
all their systems and everything else. But apparently it's because of how they knew is technology that they didn't want the public to know about or something. So they were trying to.
I didn't know about that. All I knew is that they reported it.
It was advanced and sonar technology or something, and.
If that was said, that's stupid because no average person gives two shits about that, number one. But number two, what I had read from the Wall Street Journal is the Navy knew this happened. They reported that this happened, and the Biden administration said, do not talk about this. And until it was announced later, during the Hunter Biden crap, right? This is why we don't talk about this that much
like
anymore.
A little because
it's so just, it makes me want to just fucking pull my hair out.
Yeah.
Because it is so unbelievable, right?
It's just, it's comical at this point because
it is a complete comedy.
You thought like 2020 election or even before that, you thought people were starting to wake up. I think people either just never woke up or that now we've realized it's nobody's going to fight this fight. January 6th or whatever it was,
oh God,
the way the falling out of all that was, nobody wants to say or stand up or do anything. So now we see this on the news. We're like, okay, okay.
Yeah. I think part of it is there's become this lackadaisical attitude of, like you said, like, well, there's nothing I can do about it, so, you know, fuck it, whatever. You know, we're just the Titanic's going down, right? We're just like the band playing along while the ship's going down.
See, I've been seeing, I don't know how I got on this side of TikTok, but there was, for a while there, I was seeing a lot of videos talking about how there's no actual law, nothing written, no law saying that you had to pay income tax. The IRS has no authority that you are not, there's nothing written, there's no law or anything that says you have to pay taxes. And people have actually looked and tried to find. The problem is, I mean, if everybody stopped at once, then sure. But the problem is the IRS can like mess with you, take your house, things like that.
Hey, you know what? See, the IRS is the one entity that actually is kind of scary because they have a lot of power that they shouldn't have, but they do. Like the IRS is the one, like
you're at their mercy for real.
You are like it's the one. What's funny? This is not relevant, but the old Batman animated series. Okay, do you remember like the Batman animated series?
Like from the 90s?
Yeah.
Okay.
There was one episode where the Joker is like going through all this stuff, and he realizes that like he's like based on how like I know it's a cartoon, but he's done his taxes, right? He would be arrested by the IRS, and he starts freaking out. And this guy's like, "What's the problem?" He's like, "Look, I love messing. There's one person I do not mess with, and that is the IRS." And it's just the dumbest. I saw the video of it recently. It just made me think of it because I just saw the video of it.
So like, yeah, he messes with Batman. He robs banks. He's not, but he's like the one thing.
He'll do all kinds of crimes, but the one thing he will not do, right, is send his tax return incorrectly, right? That's the one. That's the one line the Joker will not cross.
That is
anyway,
funny.
Really bad tangent.
So, your 4th of July Patriot movie, you didn't even answer.
We got into a long tangent, didn't we?
I know.
Yeah. So the Patriot, though, great choice. If you haven't seen it, long movie. It's like 3 hours.
That'll make you feel some stuff. I guess my other one would be, if you want it, just like what 4th of July should make you feel like, that wholesome kid, American dream, I would say maybe The Sandlot.
Ooh, yeah. Oh. Damn it, I love that. You know what's funny is the 4th of July scene in that movie specifically.
Perfect, yeah.
I mean, it is wonderful. The Ray Charles rendition of America the Beautiful is, in my opinion, it's the best one. It's the best rendition. It is absolutely beautiful. Like, I love it. It like gives me chills when I listen to it. And again, it's just so ironic because again, when I think about how just stupid we are, like, you know, because you even think about when Ray Charles was around, right? Much more prejudiced by a lot than it is today, right? And him willingly singing that song, right? Wanting to, right? Talking about how great the country is. It's just, anyway, love that song. So now I have to give like a top 3 because like of all the way, like the categories are given, right? So as a kid, like I said, I would say The Sandlot for me too. Like that, like one of the most all-American movies you could watch, right?
Oh, sure.
It's perfect. It's a perfect film.
What's the term I've been seeing lately? And it's weird. It's called like a classic Americana.
Classic Americana. That's good. Yeah.
People are talking about when in regards to like tattoos or like. I was at the mall yesterday. Forever 21. They have. I know, it was stupid, but it was called Classic Americana. And they had this like display at the front where they had red, white, and blue bathing suits on the mannequins, and a couple mannequins that were wearing like Miller and like a Bud Light type shirts. Like
gay.
So that's their marketing, and that's what they're trying to do. Like, so that's what America is to them, like beer shirts and just like
red, white, and blue.
Yeah, like American flag, like swimsuits. Now, granted, I like that stuff, but it's like still kind of like a slap in the face.
Well,
classic Americana.
Yeah. Well, it's a shame because, of course, in a lot of ways, when you think about iconic brands, Miller Lite or even Bud Light. I mean, it was seen as like an iconic American brand, and anyway.
Yeah, but we're more than that. We know what we like, but I feel like
we are. Yes, I think
kowtowing to us, just by trying to do this, like a slap in the face.
It's very lowbrow. It's very lowbrow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, to that exact point, you just talked about Bud Light, everything that they went through with their whole Dylan Mulvaney thing and all that.
Yeah.
And so they literally just threw out a overly patriotic commercial after that. That was like overly like.
I saw that. I was like, you are so cringy.
It's like so cringy American. Like they thought that we were just gonna we're not dumb.
Yeah, we're like, oh well, now I want to buy the beer. It's like, no, actually, Bud Light and Anheuser-Busch, parent company, fuck you, right? And guess what? You're still hurting. Right. You're still hurting.
But you see that, it, and the CEO himself was like, we've talked about this on the show, where he's like, oh yeah, we had to do this pro-American ad because we're trying to, get back in the good graces.
And he still was trying to. He's like tippy-toeing around shit.
You shouldn't be having to try. Just sell beer, man. You shouldn't be
having
to
just shut up and just sell beer.
But now you're like, oh, we got to do this overly American type ad for that is your main base. Yeah. Americans. You don't have to cater to.
It is, right? Yeah,
we live that. We don't need to see a commercial about it. On top of that, then you go to Forever 21 and it's like labeled like classic Americana. Like it's a slap in the face. So it starts, I don't know, it comes full circle for me. But then you look back and he's talking about the Sandlot or something like that. And like there was a time where that was it.
Yeah. Well, again, it's in the era that was the 90s, right? Which may have been the most perfect decade of all time, right? It's turning out to probably be true, right? Again, after all these decades of things happening, right? It came to a kind of a point
nexus
where
almost.
Yeah, where we had come past racism, right? Some of the most famous people, iconic people, right, were Black Americans, along with white, all these different things, right? You have this anyway. So it again, Sandlot, fantastic choice. One I have to say, okay. Independence Day.
That's good.
You gotta love Independence Day.
I mean, the whole thing is about blowing up aliens on the 4th of July.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Iconic lines, right? Like
Did
Will
you ever
Smith,
see the sequel?
Welcome to Earth. Hell no.
Okay, good. Because I didn't want to tarnish the first memory.
I'm sure it's absolute garbage. Plus, they didn't even have Will Smith in it. Which Will Smith is a.
I think he said he didn't want to do it,
but
or there was some scheduling conflict or something.
Something. I have no idea. So you gotta have Independence Day, right? Fantastic movie. It's a fun time, right? Top Gun Maverick.
I mean, yeah,
it's a little bit recency bias, a little bit, right? You can argue for the first Top Gun, but you want to love America.
I don't really feel 4th of July vibes though.
You don't. I mean, are you kidding
I'd
me?
rather watch the first one. That feels more like 4th of July.
Yes. Yeah.
Dude,
okay, so we'll say Top Gun.
Okay, well, if we're on Tom Cruise, I would even say Days of Thunder feels very.
That is very American. Very American.
Very like 4th of July. Like you wake up, Days of Thunder, get some coffee. It's the 4th, baby. I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
But again, that's going back to the 90s, like we were talking about.
I'm telling
that
you,
was
man.
An era where we came together. Racism, at least, you're never going to kill it. But
no, because there's bad people.
We'd won the battle of racism, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And we were so nostalgic looking back at the American dream that's all movies and everything were. It's just like celebrating where we've come, the values that we still held, because back then we still did.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Here's kind of I would say a dark horse 4th of July movie.
Okay.
Braveheart. Right? It's not about America. It's basically the Patriot.
Freedom.
But not in America.
Yeah.
You got to love it, right? If you love freedom, right, you got to watch it. I mean, it's amazing. Like when he shouts freedom or his speech, chills, man. Chills.
It's good.
Makes you want to go to war. Right? It's fantastic. So
dude. More than the Patriot though?
No, not more than the Patriot, no.
And that's America, dude. That's like the British are coming. Yeah. Freaking redcoats, his family, all that. And he wanted out of it. He was going to the Continental Congress or whatever, you know, and he was telling them, no, it's not worth it. We're not going to go to war against
whatever.
We're not going to go to war and fight.
Yeah.
We're just farmers. And then they messed with them.
That's what, hey, you know what's funny is that's
essentially, eventually, I don't want it to happen. That's what's going to happen.
In a certain sense, that's where we are now in a certain way when it comes to like the kids stuff, right?
Yes.
That's something we've talked about, right? When it comes to the, sexualization of children and all this kind of stuff, right? We've now reached a point where the average parent, right, or the average, it's like, yeah, no, like we're not doing it. We've come too far, and you know what's really interesting about this is that we try to warn about these things because you think about the worst case scenarios, and I think I don't want to say this just as a male thing, right? I don't know. Maybe this is something you struggle with. I'm curious. This is something I struggle with my brain going to the worst case scenario of things, like playing it out in my brain.
Oh yeah.
Do you do that? Okay.
All the time.
I think again.
I feel like
I'm not saying it's just a guy thing, right? But I would venture to say men probably internally deal with this the most.
Well, I would say you almost like have to, as the provider, as the male. Yes. Because if you don't, who is? I'm like, I know my wife is cautious.
You have to be prepared for the worst case scenario.
Like, it's exhausting though, really.
It is.
Forget just going out in public, filling up gas, make sure nobody's going to walk around, snatch a kid out of the car. Those are normal things, but I'm just talking any and everything. You see something in the news or some bill that's being passed, and I'll go worst case scenario. I'm like, oh, what's this going to do?
Yes.
Or what's the reach this is going to have? A reaction like, I don't know.
So we talk about that, and that's where a lot of the warning stuff comes from. And again, a lot of this, I guess, from the conservative aspect, right? People talk about whether there's examples like the slippery slope, blah blah. A lot of people say, "Oh wow, you're crazy," whatever, right? And when it comes to this gender stuff, right? We talk about all the things like how it's going to affect when it comes to children, how negatively it's going to affect them, why we shouldn't do this. I heard this story listening to a podcast. I can't remember what it was. I think it was Candace's podcast of this mother who was talking about how gender ideology had murdered her daughter, right?
Okay.
And she was going through the story of this girl was going through mental health issues, and this is in California.
Oh.
Okay, so this shouldn't surprise you. And the school counselor, right, unbeknownst to the parents, right, was helping this girl to transition, right, and eventually, the mother tried to work with her, even went as far as calling her daughter the new, boy
pronouns,
name,
all that, yeah.
whatever. It still wasn't enough. And so because she wouldn't go along with it, right, because what she saw, right, was that her daughter was suffering from mental health issues and needed to see a therapist, right? Not because she was in the wrong body, because she needed help, because she's suffering and mentally. The state of California takes her daughter away from her. CPS takes her daughter from her. She is thrown into foster care, right? The alphabet crew uses this girl to raise money because they say, oh, look at this poor trans boy. All this kind of stuff. The girl gets no help, right? Although they try to push her into hormone therapy, all this other kind of crap. Right, with his foster family or whatever, I guess. The girl ends up walking onto train tracks and, ending her life. And instead of someone being there for her and helping her and all this kind of stuff, right, they just indulged this fantasy, right, and ended up killing her, right?
Yep.
And those are the kind of things that, again, like I was talking about, like the worst, like that's where my brain goes with this stuff. It's like, these are the worst case scenarios, and are they going to happen maybe on a mass level? Not necessarily, but it's bad enough if it happens to one person.
Yeah. Right?
Like this girl that probably just 10 years ago, right, would have gone to see a therapist, gotten help, gotten the this proper mental treatment she needed to help move her life forward, right, was taken advantage of.
And made a poster child for this movement, yeah.
And ended up, ending her life, And it's just wild to me, right? And so it's things like that again, I think we're at a point to what you're saying is like, again, people are like,
enough is enough.
Yeah. And on a side note, I don't think we have anyone that does, but if you live in a state like California or New York and you have children, you need to leave. Your children are not your own in those states.
That's a scary thought.
Your children belong to the state if you live in those places.
No, and like some people think that that's like crazy. This is America. That's not going to happen. It is happening.
It is.
Even I think there's that one dude, unfortunately, that is fighting a custody battle with here in Texas.
He lost that battle.
Did he actually lose it?
Yeah.
Yeah. We covered that, a year ago or even?
I think so. Yeah.
Wow. So he lost it.
Yeah. And so his son is being, poisoned, right? With his hormone therapy, all kind of stuff from his psycho mother, right? And it's wild to me. And again, even in a place like Texas, right? Something similar can happen to you, It's just wild. It's just absolutely crazy that's where we are now.
Yep, and I think that's why you need to really pay attention, really focus on your kids, teach them early, teach them young, like what your values, what your beliefs are. Try to get in there and be that positive influence as you raise them, because if you don't and you're letting somebody else raise your kids for you, then don't be surprised if they come home with different values other than your own.
Absolutely. I mean, and also you have to, if necessary, you need to get them away from those people. I mean, I understand for a lot of people, public school is the thing to do, but you need to look into, public. There's a good shot. Maybe there's public charter schools or just different options. Like you need to be very, very aware. And unfortunately, we've come to a point where you can't give teachers and counselors at your school the benefit of the doubt. You have to revert. Obviously in America, we talk about someone is innocent until proven guilty. Mm-hmm. In these scenarios, you have to basically presume them guilty and make them force them to prove themselves innocent, which is a terrible thing. It really is, right? Because I think about when we were growing up.
Yeah.
Right. I think about my teachers I had growing up, and they were all great.
Yeah.
I appreciate. I what I say. They were very lovely. Some were mean. Whatever. What I mean is that like they were good people. They wouldn't have these weird scenarios, right? You didn't have your teacher or your school counselor secretly transitioning you, saying, yeah, like you're really a girl.
Yeah, but on
you're
top
not
of that,
a boy.
it's like you didn't have to worry that as a parent, if you caught wind of it, that your kids were going to be taken away from you.
Yes.
For just speaking out. It's not like you abused the child. You were just as the parent be like, no, not my kid. They're not going to transition. They're too young. Maybe once they move out, and your kids get taken away from you from that. I mean, we went from like a generation before me where like the principal could like spank your kids for you.
Yeah.
To suddenly like my
with
generation growing up.
Yeah, with a paddle.
Yeah. To my generation growing up towards like your parents almost couldn't really lay a hand on you now. If you got spanked in public, someone could call CPS on you. So like to now, you're not even allowed to even say like words.
Yeah, words are violence.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make spanking great again. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Right. But think about, but you make a great point. Like think about like that level, and it we're not, I guess don't hear what we're not saying. It's like we're not saying that we should go back to like the principal having a wooden paddle like a fraternity or something like that.
Well,
it's a matter of like
any abuse on a child, whether physical, emotional, or even verbal, shouldn't be tolerated.
Yeah.
From parent, peers, educators, it doesn't matter. But there's a point to be said that facilitating and almost like enabling those ideas with a confused child is abuse in and of itself, because those are lifelong decisions that you're letting somebody who is complicated, coming of age. They're confused as well. You're letting them make decisions that you're kind of being that like little whisper in their ear for something that's a lot of times irreversible. Mm-hmm. And if you do reverse, it has consequences like lifelong effects.
Mm-hmm.
That's should be the real abuse.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's the thing about it too is that it's becoming more and more clear that this is the greatest abuse that's happening to children. I would say almost in history, and I say that with a grain of salt, right? Because obviously, yes, were there terrible? I mean, even if we think about the terrible examples of the drunken father who beat his child, that wasn't everybody's dad. Okay, that wasn't everyone's dad. Even in the times where it was quote unquote more acceptable to maybe spank your child.
Yeah.
Not everyone's dad was drunk, was beating him, and even at that time where spanking was acceptable, no one would have thought that some of the things, terrible stories we've heard was acceptable. Okay, no one would think that because no one's that fucking crazy. But what's crazy is the reason why this is more abusive is this is going to ruin their life. To your point, it's going to ruin their life forever. Like I saw an article recently that on the where was it? It was at one of these medical centers that are doing these transitions. Someone was reading like the forms or whatever they talk about, right? Like the forms that you have to sign before you do this stuff.
Right. Male, female.
Yeah. And it talks about how going through these, right, there's I think large possibility, right, is what they say, or basically guarantee that like they will be infertile. Like your child will be infertile, whether they're a boy or a girl, if they go through these treatments.
Yeah, it's like some kind of like disclaimer.
Yeah, it's like just so you know, right? If they decide this is the wrong thing to do, your daughter won't be able to get pregnant, and your son will not be able to, impregnate, right, a woman if you so, whatever.
Yeah, it's like
right?
How can, as a parent or even like a peer or someone who's like trying to look out for these kids, how can you be okay with that? Like that's the part that blows my mind.
I know.
Unless you have some other like sick agenda with it, then how are you okay with it? Because honestly, like I wouldn't want my children to be having sex even in high school. Like I'd prefer them to wait till they are, get married and everything else, find somebody. Yep. Like there shouldn't be any kind of sexualization of somebody who's a teenager or heaven forbid younger. This is when you're talking about body parts. I mean, they haven't even like figured themselves out. A lot of times they're like just going through puberty. Their body's still changing. Like they're confused enough as it is. So as an adult, you should be that person like helping them through that. And if they come out of that journey and decide as a young adult that that's something that they want to still do with, then fine, let them. But nobody should be, parent or like peer educator, like I keep saying, should be having a voice or an opinion. Like the only thing a teacher should be doing is teaching. If my son is a little bit sensitive or weird and he comes in, he gets picked on, or I mean, this happened last year where some kids were making fun of what he was bringing for lunch. Like, oh, you're having a PB&J. Like it wasn't like sardines or anything. It was like freaking peanut butter sandwiches. Oh, you have the Cheeto Puffs today. You don't have the crunchy ones. That's weird. But it was just kids being kids. They would gang up on them. But that's when a teacher should step up. They shouldn't go and convince the rest of the class that, it's okay that, some people no, just stop the bullying. Like help everybody feel welcomed and loved where they're at without changing anybody. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Well, I mean, it kind of goes to denying or wanting to avoid the pains or uncomfortable aspects of life, right? And it's this weird because people just talk about, I just want to be happy. They want to focus on just being happy. It's like there's nothing wrong necessarily with wanting to find comfort, right? But just to deny or ignore or try to 100% get rid of the difficulties or uncomfortable parts of life just doesn't make it. There's nothing healthy about that because that's life. Life is difficult, right? Growing up is difficult. Going through puberty is difficult. It's awkward. It's not fun, right?
For anybody.
Being an adult is not fun. It's hard. It has challenge. Like when part of this is this unhealthy indulgence into trying to have a perpetual, nothing wrong ever happened to me, and that's where it's like it's almost the most sinister because it's feeding into that. And of course, when you're a teenager, all you care about is I want to fit in. I want to be. I don't want to ever be uncomfortable. All that kind of stuff, you know. And that's where it's like it is so sad because a lot of this is happening to young teenage girls, right?
Yeah.
And so the appeal of, oh my God, I don't have to ever go through my menstrual cycle. I just do this and it goes away. Like I can understand why you would want that to go away because that's weird. It's uncomfortable. It's hard. It's painful. All these kind of things.
But that person's not going to think about the long-term effects that's going to have.
Well, right, and that's what I'm saying. Like, and that's where it's almost the most sinister and evil when you're telling these teenage girls, like, oh yeah, it just goes away, right? You just do this, it goes away. And of course, in the moment, they're like, oh my God, I can get that anxiety out of my life. Again? Yeah. And you ruin their life, right? Just with that. And again, you feed into that anxiety, right? But it's the same thing where any of these sort of, I think they, what do they call it? Like psychophenomenons. I can't remember what they call it. It's when they have these massive like bulimia or cutting, you know, things that have like we've seen growing up, right? Whether it's anorexia, all that kind of stuff, things that typically end up affecting girls more than boys, right? You know, the whole gender thing is turning into the same thing, but it's much more dangerous than any of the other things we've seen before.
Right, because it's accepted.
Well, first off, it's accepted, right? Yeah, because could you imagine when we were growing up, if when girls came into the doctor, and let's say they're like 105 pounds, and they're suffering from anorexia. I just can't
stop puking after I eat. I can't control it. It's a reaction that I just do. It's out of my control.
Right, with bulimia, or it's like,
well, that's okay because there's a lot of young girls going through the same thing as you.
Yeah, I would say
it is perfectly okay.
Truth, right? What are they? It's your truth,
dude.
We would like that if we heard that.
Here's some medicine to help the stomach acid and the burning of your throat and stuff, and to help the enamel on your teeth. Other than that, keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, like
it's like why would you?
No one. You would be crazy, but that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing.
Worse.
Yeah, worse.
We're letting them do.
We're ruining those young girls or young boys' lives forever. Ugh. We need to end on a more positive note. Look, it's the 4th of July. This is still the greatest country ever. Even with all the crazy, stupid shit that's happening.
Yeah.
Whether it's the president, the trans flag on the White House, the crazy gender stuff, the race stuff, although shout out to the Supreme Court, right? Striking down the affirmative action stuff. Very good.
I did see that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Major, phenomenal, fantastic.
Baby steps.
And here's the thing. I think there's a tide turning. And when I say this, I don't mean like, okay, you know, the right wing is always the right way to go, all kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But here's what's important, right? Whether it's as we end Pride Month, okay, right? You have, the Bud Light situation, all these, Target, all these things. Mm-hmm. When we care, we can make a difference, right? And here's the thing. Maybe by chance there is someone that listens to us that is gay, mm-hmm. right? You're a great person. Right, I'm not. We don't. Like honestly, like you're not evil, right? So this is not an attack on that, or whatever. What I'm saying is that there's the radical gender ideology, right? Is something that is evil, mostly because it's clearly targeting children, right? The most innocent people out there,
and that's the only time we ever had an issue with it.
Yeah,
stop going after the kids.
Yeah, because gay people have always been around. And they will be around, right?
Since
it's gonna
forever.
Happen. Yeah. But when you point towards children, there's a problem.
Right. You went from wanting acceptance to suddenly wanting to be able to do whatever you wanted, and everybody else was wrong. If there was an opinion other than that, then it was wrong.
Yeah.
People have a lot of different opinions, and that's what makes America so great.
Yeah, and there's many gay people in the United States that see this, and of course I'm sure are like appalled by a lot of this. So mm-hmm. Whatever, but there's a lot of reasons to have hope. I think that again we were in the middle of the hard times to a certain extent, and I think hopefully people will be better off moving forward from this. But hey, it's the 4th of July. Right, the red, white, and blue is still the greatest thing in the world, right?
USA.
You better believe it, right? Again, you want to, you know, another good patriotic movie is not Pearl Harbor, Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah,
very hard movie to watch. That intro is very, very hard to watch. It's very heart wrenching, but damn it, I love America.
Amen.
Or even the first Captain America, the first one.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Yeah, that like Hacksaw Ridge. There's a lot of those like
Hacksaw Ridge. That's a good one. Very underrated. Very underrated war film. I love war movies.
Yeah, war movies in America just kind of like bread and butter.
Yeah. Well, it's just because we win. We win so many.
We win them all.
We just win. We were back-to-back World War champions. We just do so much winning.
We're the back-to-back two-time World War.
We just so much winning. You'll get sick of winning. I'm not sick of winning. Actually, I would like to be winning again.
We need a few wins.
Trump 2024.
Maybe
we
DeSantis. I don't know.
When we do the, you know, what would be great is when we do StreamYard, we could maybe do like a live stream reaction to like debates and stuff.
Good.
Ooh, can you imagine doing that with like Rebecca and like Jackie or something like that? Oh, that'd be good. Anyway, thank you for joining us this week. It was a little bit of we actually didn't talk about what I thought we were going to talk about at all. We didn't even bring it up.
Not at once.
But you know what? It was actually pretty good. Hopefully you enjoyed it, right? Our 4th of July special, or Friday night special, technically, actually. Although it's not coming out on a Friday. But we're recording on a Friday because he had dinner, whatever. Him and Brittany got invited to dinner or whatever.
Yep.
At Del Pueblo. It was Del Pueblo, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Social media never lies. Never lies.
So, anyway, I don't use it.
Make sure you like, subscribe, share a show with your friends. Go to Apple, Spotify. Leave a 5-star review. We'll see you next week.
Later.